How do you stop Post-it notes from curling up and falling off the wall you've just stuck them to? Post-it notes are a common tool in the Enablers of Change toolkit, yet it appears that many of us don't know how to use them correctly. In today's episode, we're going to share with you a really simple way to overcome this problem.
It's so cool, John. While Post-it notes have been around for 40 years, they never came with an instruction manual. Probably not a surprise, as they seem so simple to use. Yet most of us just grab the pad of Post-it notes, write something quickly on the page, then grip the bottom corner and pull it up diagonally towards the opposite corner. We then place it on a wall or a whiteboard and then often feel frustrated when the note is curled up so much that others can't read the brilliance we've just tried to share with the group. Or, John, worse still, as the group gathers around the display of Post-it notes and starts to discuss the ideas shared, the Post-it notes, one by one, start to fall off and flutter to the ground.
Yes, Denise, it's just like those autumn leaves falling down to the ground. Most of us just accept this as a limitation of using Post-it notes, but it doesn't have to be. Pulling them upwards or sideways causes the notes to bend, and they then don't adhere well to flat surfaces. Instead, remove them by slightly lifting the middle of the bottom edge and pulling it towards you, away from the sticky edge in a straight movement. That way, they remain flat and you can easily share your brilliance with others.
This is awesome. Such a cool episode, John. For those that like to dig a bit deeper, it seems that this technique was first promoted by William Turner on the 17th of April 2015 in a 40-second video on YouTube. He works for Planet Safe Calendars in the US and has only uploaded 2 videos to YouTube, this one and then one the very next day promoting Planet Safe's wall tray accessory. It seems that many others then picked up on this Post-it note technique and promoted it more widely.
One of those is a user experience designer from Denmark who published a short blog post in 2017. In it, he included an image representing the correct way to remove a Post-it note. The diagram shows how not to do it and then the way you should do it. What I love is that he also included a picture clearly demonstrating what happens when you don't use the improved technique, where the notes have all curled up so you can't read them, and then the result you achieve doing it properly, where all the notes are easily visible. If you're listening to the podcast, you can see those pictures in the show notes.
I love this. It's awesome. For the really curious ones among us, let's briefly touch on the creation of the Post-it note. It's one of those accidental innovation stories. It was back in 1968 when Dr. Spencer Silver in the United States was trying to create a super strong adhesive at 3M to help hold airplanes together. One of his experiments produced almost the opposite of what he was looking for. He'd created a unique low-tack adhesive that, while it would stick to things, it was easily removed and could be repositioned multiple times. Instead of throwing it out, he promoted his discovery for 5 years to his colleagues at 3M, but no one was able to think of a suitable use for it. Then, as the story goes, his colleague Art Fry was singing in his local church choir and became frustrated when his bookmarks kept falling out of his hymnal. He recalled Spencer's invention, put some of the adhesive on the back of his bookmarks, which then happily stayed in place, John.
Oh, it's such a good story, Denise. Art then further developed the idea at 3M and later released the yellow coloured notes in 1977. But why were they yellow, you may ask? Simple. When developing the idea, he could access yellow scrap paper for free from the lab next to his. You can read a lovely transcript provided by 3M about this, and we'll provide the link in the show notes. It describes how the 3 characters of the story, Spencer Silver, Art Fry, and Jeff Nicholson, all collaborated to develop what we now know as the Post-it note. The transcript of that interview finishes with these salient comments by Jeff. When you get down to it with innovation, a lot of people are required to make it successful. Marketing, sales, even the accountants. But you sometimes have to fight for it. And that's inevitable in something that changes the basis of competition. People resist change. Oh, Denise, this is such a good take-home message for us as enablers of change.
Absolutely, John. It's awesome. And you might think that we've covered everything relevant to enablers of change about post-it notes, but no, well, not quite. As you no doubt appreciate, there are now many different producers of post-it note-like products. The original 3M patent expired in 1997, and there are now many makers of repositional notes, since the term post-it note is still registered to 3M. If only someone would take the time and effort to compare the different brands and see which ones stick to a wall best, and how likely the ink will leak through one note onto the next. Well, a guy called Matty Snyder has done just that for us and compares 23 different types of sticky notes. Admittedly, it was undertaken in 2017 and in France, but the results are still interesting. You can find the link to his post on our show notes. But the take-home message is that a 3M recycled post-it note not only beat the newcomers to the market, but also the original 3M post-it note. The recycled one was not only stickier and was more resistant to ink leakage, but was also more sustainably produced than its competitors. Win-win, John.
Wow, isn't that interesting, Denise? So there you have it, folks. Grab the bottom edge of the post-it note and pull it down and away from the sticky edge in a straight movement. And you now know not only how to use post-it notes properly, but some more of their interesting background. Well, you've heard our thoughts. Now we'd like to hear yours. Add a comment below the blog post and tell us about your experiences with post-it notes, including any tips and further ideas about them. We don't want this to be just a one-way conversation. Join in by sharing your thoughts and ideas with us.
Who knew post-it notes could be such a good episode? So thanks, folks, for joining us on this Enablers of Change episode. Remember to subscribe if you'd like to know when new episodes are available. And if you liked what you've heard, please tell your friends so they can join the conversation.